Am I going to be able to make more money from the job I'm working right now? Are they going to give me $200 more a day in pay? Is your boss going to give you $100 more a day because you need it? Because you need it to make ends meet better than they meet right now, or for the first time? Fuck no, he's not going to do that, or she. They're not going to do that for you, folks. So you have to do what? You have to take the initiative to do it on your own. And the only thing I'm submitting to you is just another way of doing it. It isn't the only way. It's just one simple way that my son himself, at 18 years of age, with no experience being profitable prior to, you're seeing it happen right now. Real time, every single time there's an adjustment in his equity, I share it with you. We logged into his account, showed you his day-by-day progress. It's absolutely undeniable. It's real. It's not faked. It's not a rented MT4 server. He's making it work for himself. And while, yes, $2,500 is not a lot of money, but guess what? To an 18-year-old, it fucking is. It is. And what happens if it amounts to me with losing trades? He only does that over the course of a full month. Is that failure? I would submit that it's not. I wouldn't call that failure. What happens if his strike rate drops down to 50%, but he's still profitable $1,500 a month? Is that failure? No. But some of you would criticize that and say, oh, it's only 50-50. But you're not making any money, you're talking shit. That's what social media does. It invites assholes to communicate with you when it was unsolicited. It makes an invitation to ignorant people that are only interested in seeing you become miserable like them. You're going to discover when I leave in November that your best learning comes after that. Doing everything I told you to do and avoiding things I told you to avoid. Your best learning is coming after November 11th. You don't see it. Some of you are fearful and you're like, I don't want you to leave. I want you to stay here. I'm encouraged by you. Blah, blah, blah. That's the problem. That's the problem. You're all comfortable in the nest. I'm kicking you the fuck out of here. You're not supposed to live with me forever. I'm not supposed to be with you forever. I taught you how to do it. I taught you how to fly. And when the mom and dad says it's time for that eagle to get the fuck out of the nest, they boot their fucking ass out. Let me tell you a quick story and I'm going to end it. Eagles are very interesting animals. Very interesting animals. You know, they have their vision. They have telescopic vision. That means they can stand on one field goal post of a football field and zoom in on a quarter, a 25-cent piece in the U.S. currency. They can see that laying on the ground at the other end, 100 yards away. And people say there's no creator. Well, an eagle, it goes through periods of its life where it looks for a mate. And when it finds a mate, it mates for life, one mate. It doesn't go around and whore around with anybody else. It finds a mate. And the female eagle, what she'll do is she'll fly around and see if the male eagle's going to be committed to stay with her. And then eventually, when she feels like she is willing to test his ability to be the father of their eaglet together, she'll go down and she'll pick up a branch or a twig, and she'll fly out really, really high. And the male eagle will fly up there with her. And then what she'll do is she'll drop that branch. And that male eagle better get his fucking ass down there and catch that thing before it hits the ground. If it hits the ground, she turns him away. She will not mate with him. What is that practicing? Because in the beginning process, when the eaglets are at the point of almost ready to fly, the mother will shove one of them out to show the other eaglets and the eaglet itself that it needs to learn how to fly. It's not meant to live in a nest. You're not meant to be under my tutelage forever. You're not meant to be in the nest of a demo forever. You have to start doing things, and it's going to be scary for you to be out there where you can hurt yourself. But the male eagle What he does is he lets that eaglet drop for a little while. Then he swoops down and catches it before it hits the ground and kills it. Carries it back up to the nest and shows the mother that, yes, you picked the right father. I got us. I got our children. But that eaglet has now been introduced to the idea that I better flap my fucking wings, because what happens if dad doesn't get to me in time? They have to do what? They have to trust the process of being uncomfortable and eventually finding their wings and flying. At some point, one of those eagles will probably pass away before the other. And many times they go through depression and they stop flying and they start walking around on the ground. Their claws start becoming deformed and their beaks, they start molting, where they get this like calcification around their beak. And many times, unless they change the way they're doing things, they'll die in that state. Other eagles will come and they'll drop food down to them because they're no longer flying and hunting for it. And people say there's no creator. The other eagles encourage the other eagle that's in depression to beat their own beaks against the rocks to break the calcification off and take flight. The ones that don't want to listen to sound advice and logic and encouragement to follow the process, that they're not supposed to be walking around on their claws, they have wings. They're majestic, beautiful creations and creatures of the world that God's presented us a bountiful testimony of creation. A buzzard ain't going to hang around a buzzard that's depressed. It's going to sit around and wait for it to die and eat it. An eagle, when it sees another one in lack and in suffering, it cares to it. It drops food down to it. And it goes down there, not just one of them, several of them, and they build them up or her up. Say, look, don't stay depressed like this. This is not what you were meant to be. You were not meant to be walking around on your claws. You're supposed to be soaring high. You need to be up here, like us. Come back up here. We gave you something to eat, strengthen yourself, but you have to beat yourself out of this. That means the eagle will walk over to a rock and bang its beak against it until it gets all the calcification off of it. So that way it can go and fly and hunt and soar again. Every single one of you are going to go through that period in your trading. You're going to go through drawdown. You're going to be molting. And you can choose to stay in that grief. You can choose to stay in that depression. Or you can use these discussions I've given you here that are in recordings and stir you up. Remind you that you're not supposed to be what you are afraid of. Never escaping. Mediocrity. Lack. Not being able to meet your bills. Not making your ends meet. That's something that's a decision that you're staying in. You are doing that. There's no excuse for you not to be able to do it now. It's just the effort and time that's required. Some of you are going to have to beat your fucking head against this fucking rock. Break this calcification off. Listen to good advice that's being provided to you. I'm feeding you. I'm throwing you fish. And I've already taught you how to fish. It's time for you to mount up. Get to those higher heights. You're not a buzzard. You're not somebody eating dead, decaying things. You're thriving. You're excelling. You're elevated above everything else that this world wants to say that you're only due to receive. This is the best you can have. The American dream. There it is. Debt. 30 years in debt for the mortgage. That is a fucking lie and a trap. Look past that. Higher up. Have the perspective of an eagle. You see things differently. And you know what else is different? All the problems that are down there on the ground, they're a lot smaller to an eagle because his perspective is so high. All your problems right now, you're living with them. They're big. They're real big. And when an eagle is molting, They're depressed. They forget the majesty of being up in that height, flying, just opening their wings and letting the current just allow them to be aloft. And they're depressed. And they know that they could do that. They did it. But they're depressed. They lost their life mate. And they're depressed. And eagles look after their own. That's what makes them a wonderful creature. That's what, to me, is a testimony to their creator. They have empathy for one another. They take care of one another. And I am trying to be that dad eagle. Yes, sometimes I'm going to kick you out of the nest. I'm going to tell you this is what's going to happen, and it's normal. But eventually there's going to be a real time where I'm going to let you fall. I'm not going to swoop down after November 11th. And I'm being honest and upfront with you so that way you know. I have scheduled my departure. I have done this. And you have everything that you need. Everything else is just your effort. But you're going to have to beat yourself out of that depression and that fear of wanting to be ground level when you're not meant to be ground level. So hopefully you got something out of this one today. I enjoyed talking with y'all. Weather looks pretty ominous outside, so I think I'm going to go out there and watch how hard it can rain. Grab something to eat, and I'm going to wish you a very pleasant weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Until I talk to you next week, be safe.